All right, think fast. What episode number is this?
6.
Smarter than you look. All right.
Big brains. Big brains. It's not all just muscle.
But mostly muscle.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, have you had any reactions from folks you know that like watch the podcast? Like people say like,
actually,
like,
what's up with this? What's going on? We're just basically like you're doing a podcast, and I saw the clip, and just some general queries about it. And my wife though is like, "Oh, this guy would be a good guy for Dad Fight Club," and I'm like, it's like one of my buddies or this guy that we met in the neighborhood, TJ, is like a workout freak, and like I don't think he has any kind of experience with anything. I'm not for sure, but yeah, she's like, "Oh, TJ would be great for it." I'm like, so.
Well, I'm not
she's
sure
like
we ever really.
She's trying to recruit for us or something.
I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I don't know if we ever really quantified like what Dad Fight Club is. So, I mean, I'm all about fresh meat. Somebody that doesn't know how to wrestle or do jiu-jitsu, that sounds perfect.
Like, just throw them in there right after me. Or before.
Restaurant, right? That's what we call them. That's what we call them at
the fresh meats
at the academy. It's just restaurant. Somebody comes out,
yeah.
Oh, you're the trial class guy? Okay, cool. I don't really have to worry too much about this. Except unless your name is Jordan and you're the trial class guy and you come in and you just maul everybody. But yeah.
I don't know about that. But I did send kind of an official. I was chatting with a guy who's a blue belt, and he's been doing jiu-jitsu for a number of years, but he lives in Maryland, and he was asking about it. And any invites, I always thought like, oh, I'm going to check with Bill first just to make sure. But I was like, Bill would totally agree to this guy. I mean, he's a father of 2 boys as well, and like I've seen posts where he's said similar things about like not hurting your training partner. You know what I mean? Like being a good training partner. The same lecture you gave me yesterday again.
Would we call it a lecture? I don't know, but I mean, we want to make sure that we are able to continue doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't break your toys, Don't break your toys, ladies and gentlemen. And I thought, man, like he would be a great addition, and or just like somebody just to come in. I mean, obviously with him being a blue belt, he has a lot more experience, and I don't know his like background in the sense of like if he's competed or anything like that, but I know he goes a lot. He definitely trains a lot, and similar to you, he put like kind of the fitness for second, right? So his jiu-jitsu is his number 1, and then fitness is second.
Do you think that you'll ever do that?
I do think about it. When I have the kind of the personality that I like to really turn into things. I've done this with yoga, strength training, high intensity stuff, and it's really served me well. Like you get an overload of information, and but with jiu-jitsu, I think it's important for me to kind of maybe pace myself. I don't know. I feel the pull, and I feel the pull to want to box and do Muay Thai and all of that because it's just fun for me to mix it up. But I would be lying if I said I'm not addicted to the pump. When I was doing the high intensity stuff, I was addicted to that, that runner's high, the serotonin drop, levels getting high, and doing jiu-jitsu and not lifting as much, man. I'm like, man, I'm feeling a little soft, So it's like I'm always looking for a way to try to get it there, and you don't want to lose your strength, man. Like you really work hard, you kill yourself to try to get to certain kind of what I call standards. It's like 225 or 315, whatever your kind of standard is for certain things. I think trying to maintain those standards, and I've done that with yoga, and flexibility, mobility. That's I excelled really well, and then I'm like, okay, this is the new standard that I need to hold. And it gets tough when you have a lot of different disciplines that you're trying to hold all that standard to.
No, 100%. I mean, I think that there's balance in everything, and I do think that jiu-jitsu, you're not going to get bodybuilder muscles coming from doing jiu-jitsu. You're probably going to lose top end strength, like one max rep type of. a normal person that doesn't work out is going to go to jiu-jitsu and get stronger, get fitter, all those things.
Right.
Somebody that has been specializing like you have in very specific things, these standards that you're talking about, just by the nature of your body getting dinged up, I mean, any number of things is going to impact your kind of top line max performance, in my view. As you know, I went from doing, kind of CrossFit-like workouts 5 days a week, to doing jiu-jitsu now 5 days a week. And the way that I have balanced that is that I do these short kind of pump sessions. They're really no longer than 15 to 17 minutes long that I can do with just some free weights in my living room while I'm watching a jiu-jitsu instructional. and it's full body, and I do it 5 days a week, especially leading up to competition here, is because I am trying to make sure that I'm retaining some strength and retaining muscle mass and things like that. Because it's very easy to get worn down when you're training jiu-jitsu quite a bit. I mean, just the sheer grind factor, it's pretty easy to get worn down. But that being said, there are people that train jiu-jitsu way more than me, that train, twice a day. And they progress a lot faster and all that. But Bill's opinion is that if you're going to lean in, if you're going to turn into something, UFC's 1, 2, and 4 would suggest to you that jiu-jitsu would be the style of choice over boxing, Muay Thai, pretty much anything else, So I would suggest jiu-jitsu and just putting everything to the wayside. I mean, you said I think you did combatives in the Army. I mean, I'm sure you know how to throw a punch. If you had no idea what to do, I would suggest, go take that Muay Thai class, go do that boxing. But there's just so much to be done and learned in jiu-jitsu. And the more you investigate it, the deeper the rabbit hole goes. And it's a really tremendous intellectual pursuit. I was trying to explain to somebody the other day why I train jiu-jitsu, and I really struggled, because it is really hard and it does scare me. I get apprehensive when I'm walking into Black Cat, or, I'm apprehensive about my tournament in a couple weeks. I'm scared basically about all this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly interesting, incredibly stimulating. And you feel, when you leave a good training session, that's a feeling that is hard to replicate with free weights, is hard to replicate with running, especially if you smashed some guy that you've been trying to smash for potentially years. That's happened for me where I've caught somebody, right? They maybe they drop the amount that they're training, and I start training more. I start training 3, 4, 5 days a week, and they're only training twice a week. And guess what? He's getting better, but you're getting better faster. And they might be better than you to start with, but then you catch them and surpass them. That's the coolest thing. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about running a 5K or something, but it's not nearly as satisfying as when you strangle somebody, I guess.
Yeah, I happen to agree. But back to your last point, I mean, I came to the same conclusion about, I have some experience in a lot of those other things, and jiu-jitsu would be the one with the least experience, and really takes the longest, I think, from, a learning curve standpoint to get caught up. And I model myself as more of a MMA fighter, where I want to be proficient, or at least know how in everything, because it gets in more to a training philosophy of why you're training. But I train really for that sense of readiness. In my mind, I'm always going to the dark place, and tussling, and with somebody if it ever came to that. And when you go in to assess it, jiu-jitsu skills, it would be the one that's lacking. So that's why I'm like not pushing the boxing or that, even though I feel the pull. I'm like, hey, So
there's nothing wrong with having a more self-defense mindset of learning jiu-jitsu. I feel very much the same way. And there are certain things that you you look at in jiu-jitsu and you say, oh, that would never work in an MMA fight. And then you watch Conor McGregor do an X-guard sweep on Nate Diaz in a live MMA fight. And you're like, oh, maybe, there are some things some places that you don't want to hang out more, in an MMA fight where strikes are there for sure. There's certain guards that maybe when strikes are involved are more vulnerable, to getting hit while you're trying to do that particular guard. But then you see somebody pull it off and you're like, okay, so actually a lot of this is just reaching a level of proficiency where you can do it very crisply and they don't have time to punch you in the face, essentially.
Yeah.
and if you don't hit it, you have to know how to react to it. But that's very much, I would say, how I've focused my training and my interests, not just in jiu-jitsu in the class, when you go to class and the professor has a curriculum that he's going through, whatever it is, but in my outside study, the things that I'm trying to learn and understand the concepts of, I'm not looking at, K-guard and some sort of super esoteric inversion and, something that you wouldn't really see on the street or in an MMA competition. I'm looking more at some of the fundamental principles of grappling, the underhook and the overhook and when to go for it. By the way, that underhook situation where that we've mentioned in the past where you're on top of me and I dig that underhook, I got guillotined 5 times in 5 minutes by some guy trying to do that today. It was the worst. It was the worst. I mean, I laid there on the mat, my hands on the mat, and just stared at the ceiling for like 30 seconds after that round, because that had never happened to me before, digging the underhook, trying to come up. Apparently there's a way that you can guillotine people while they're trying to do that. So
wow.
we're going to have to watch out for that.
I wish we got that on camera.
Yeah, no. Okay.
For learning purposes, of course.
Just for learning, not entertainment. Yeah, not entertainment purposes. All right, let's do it. Let's get into the rules here. See if this works. Come on. Yes. Okay, here we are. Hand fighting.
Nice.
I definitely felt
much more aggressive, much more assertive. I wasn't quite ready for it. You got to hold my arm quickly there. I was like, oh, geez. Like, you're throwing in some new stuff, trying to do little trips. Kept me very busy.
The trips
kept me off balance. Yep.
Yeah, it didn't stop you from grabbing the single. But so just my mindset, though, here was trying to get to an angle. So you do this to me all the time, right? You all the time kind of do this. It's not really an arm drag, but where you grab one wrist and then you kind of hook and then you kind of come off to the side and you create that angle. I was like, that's pretty cool. Maybe I should try to start doing that. So you'll see me try to do it a bunch of times. Sometimes it's successful, sometimes it's not.
Yeah,
but I think I exposed myself to the single over here by kind of creating that angle, though. By getting off to the side here, you're like, oh, my hand is right next to your knee. I can just reach down and grab that. Yes. But then I almost got the guillotine on you here.
No, I was like, oh.
But I didn't commit to it. I was like, I'll go with the whizzer and try to actually just kind of get you, to abandon the takedown. That seemed like a more sustainable thing. I'm trying to keep my leg to the outside. I don't know if you saw that. I think you were bringing it to so that my foot is on the outside there. And I'm trying to continue.
I was trying to get my head to the outside, and you were preventing that as well.
And then what happens, Jordan? And then what happens?
I pull guard.
Wait. Did you just trip and fall down? What did you do there?
I figured I'd shock you a little bit. I actually, in my mind, I told myself I was actually going to start the very first part of the round undoing that. But then you came out so hot, and I was like kind of caught off guard. You got me off balance, and it was some good hand fighting. And I totally forgot about it, and then I was like, I didn't know really what I should do, and I was like, oh yeah, pull guard.
And then at some point you point at the camera here, and you're like, don't ever say that I never pulled guard.
Witness.
And I'm thinking, this is all too easy. This is gonna be great. Okay. So
And it was.
yeah. So what should you have been thinking about doing right here?
Framing.
Framing.
Yeah.
Okay. What
or,
you should be
or lock my legs, cross my legs.
Yes. So
there you go.
You should always be trying to establish a guard. Okay. Right now, your guard is non-existent. You're not doing anything. You've decided to come up and grab my arms, and you have not really tried to. You haven't created. Well, number one, like you could just establish frames and just kind of keep me at a distance and maybe wrestle up or whatever. If you're not going to do that, though, you need to establish a guard and have frames in place. And you here neither have frames or a guard, from what I can see. Now, we talked about one thing previously in doing a knee cut pass. And let me see if you can spot it.
I knew it was coming.
What just happened right there?
Yeah, that's it. That's the knee cut pass.
No, but what did I do to guarantee my success on the knee cut? I'll give you a hint. Watch my right hand.
Oh, it's an underhook.
I shot the underhook.
Yeah.
I was real sneaky about it. I didn't go super deep. I didn't go up to my elbow on it or anything like that. But in order to do this type of a pass, which is a textbook knee cut pass, just slicing through your guard, you have to have that underhook. Otherwise, you can turn into me and take my back. So this is what I was talking about. If you had the underhook here, and we drilled this, remember before this round, we drilled this, where if you shoot the underhook, then you can basically shuck me over and come up on my leg, essentially. But I won the underhook battle, which you didn't even know we were having a battle.
No. I'm like, oh, here you go. I'll lift my arm up for you.
No. I took it. But I was sneaky. About it. Watch how sneaky I am about it. That's all. And then straight into side control. All right. Self-diagnosed, Jordan.
Yeah, just back to what you were saying. Like, it's just the basics. Yeah.
But where's the frames?
Yeah, I got nothing. Oh, I'm supposed to have the left elbow driving up into your neck.
Yep. And then your right hand should be pushing on my hip.
Arm. Oh, the hip. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm basically trying to get my leg out, back around.
Yeah, you should be trying to turn into me, creating space and connecting your knee and your elbow. Now, I'm doing a pretty good job here. If you look at my right knee and my right elbow, I've created tension on both sides. I'm pressing in with my elbow and I'm pressing forward with my right knee. So you have very little space to turn, which is why, or conversely, you could be trying to get the underhook with your left arm, right? Remember that we drilled that side control escape where you swim, you push up, you swim under with that right arm, or with your left arm, sorry. And then you shuck me off and go up for like a single. Unfortunately, you do none of these things. And I decide to pass your guard and go straight to mount. So I'm going to switch my hips and I'm going to look away from you. So right there, I just switched my hips. I'm looking away from you. I pull, using my right hand, I pull your knee down. And then I'm just going to yeet right over you. Straighten them out.
Yep. Just having his way. Go Diddy.
Yeah, and through this whole sequence right here, I'm trying to do something called a no-gi Ezekiel choke, which is where I get one arm underneath your neck, and then I come up and over, and so your neck would be like right in this little pocket right here, and I'm just closing the space. But I had this one in, I had this locked in here. I was trying to get this arm down, and you were doing a good job of hand fighting with it, so I just couldn't get it. So
I felt it.
I ended up bailing on it.
After a long, 30 seconds, it seemed like.
I don't think you're having the best of times. Uh,
And I'm like, this is exactly what you get. And then I felt your feet, and I'm like, get
yeah,
off
and you
me.
tried to do a little bridge. You tried to
Yeah,
do
I
it.
was like,
It was cute. It was cute. Yeah, I was gonna do grapevines on you there, and you were like, "No way!" And so you tried to bridge, didn't work. And this is where we go for the arm bar. But I was really slow in setting it up. Like, to be successful, I need to be way faster in this, and way smoother. But I'm going to go to S mount in just 2 seconds here. I'm trying to get. So there are a couple of things you need to do to set up the arm bar, and part of the reason it took so long was just because you weren't really letting me do much. But I've got to get my. You'll see, I just wiggled my left knee further up towards your head. So watch my left knee. I'm going to start wiggling it up. I need to get it up by your head. So right there, I moved it up maybe 6 inches. Yeah. And I mean, you tapped super early. I don't know that it was the best arm bar. I think there's some possibility that you could have gotten out of it. But it's always good to tap early and often. That's for sure. So then
and
I
I
was
don't have
like, all
any
right.
experience on fighting with any of that. So in my mind,
Yeah,
like,
I
you
mean,
got it.
yeah, just tap. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, just tap. Just tap. I mean, I tap
Yeah.
whenever somebody gets close to. I mean,
It
they
ain't worth
teach
it to
they
me.
teach escapes. They teach lots of different escapes to arm bars. I don't think. I mean, they're if somebody's got you or I had you, what you're doing is a late escape. It's not an early escape. It's a late escape.
Yeah.
I mean, you should just be trying to,
Hold on to it.
something,
Yeah.
So I thought it would be interesting to just kind of let you come on in this next one.
So
So I've
I'm
got
thinking
butter.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt the butterfly, and I was like, okay, I can try to get the weight back.
Yeah. So
I was
this
just
is
doing
for,
too much thinking.
yeah. Well, no, that's good. No, I mean, so you're going to see me leg pommel. So that's called a leg pommel, where I'm going to move my hook in and out. So you go right here, I pommel my leg up, and then when I see you move your hand, I'm going to pommel it back down, right back to where I was. Right? So you basically lost all the progress that you just made. But you're basically like, honestly, Jordan, what you're doing here is a crappy version of body lock passing. Now, you don't actually have your hands connected, but having drilled body locks for the last 3 weeks at my academy, what you're doing here is body lock passing. You're just smashing forward as much as you possibly can, kind of tight waisting, keeping your hands around me as much as you can, and trying to wiggle around the outside. That's basically body lock passing, but you don't actually have the grip. And yeah, you've got to be super concerned about being butterfly swept and things like that when you do this. But you did a good job getting to half guard, forcing half guard. So you see this right here? Hold on. Sorry, I went back a little too far. You could connect your hands right here. Your hands could be connected. Suggest you try that next time. Connect your hands underneath me. If I come up, we drilled it today. If I am giving you space like this, you could connect your hands around my back. Now I'm going to try to not let you do that, but I mean that would be, you're instinctually body lock passing. So you might as well lock your hands and do the body lock. That would be my white belt counsel. So at some
That's
point
actually a good
here,
name for a podcast. White belt council.
white belt counsel. Yeah, I mean, don't trust it as far as you can throw it. Yeah. So then I'm going to try doing a choy bar, but your pressure is just too much. So right here, I start framing to give myself. So what I'm going to try to do is hip out and really bring my hips away from you and throw my leg over your head and then end up arm barring you. But your bicep, your left arm, is keeping my head really close to you, and it's making it very difficult for me to hip out the way that I want to. But I am at least able to make some space, and that's going to let me go for the Kimura here in a second. So framing. This is what you need to do more of, just framing. Now, as soon as I get you to post your left hand on the mat, right there, I go for the Kimura. So basically, the signature of a Kimura is you have to have when you should be thinking go in your head is if somebody puts their hand on the mat or just extends their arm and gives you that window to come up and up and over and underneath. So this entire period right before this, I couldn't do a Kimura. This right here it's too compressed, it's too tight,
Mm-hmm.
Even coming back here, the whole point of making space here was so that I could isolate and attack an arm, whether it was doing the Choi bar that I was talking about, throwing my leg up and over your head and attacking that arm, or whether it was just creating enough space with that frame to Kimura you. So right there, your arm's extended. That allows me to build up and go for the Kimura. And I don't actually get the Kimura, but I use it to sweep you.
If I got my attention.
Yeah.
I had to grab it with my other hand and pull my left arm out of there. I was like, oh shit.
And then this time I was like, okay, I'm going to get the Nogi Ezekiel choke for sure this time. But we ran out of time.
Thank you, baby Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus, thank you. Yeah. But to me, the things that, first of all, I appreciate you pulling guard and trying, to do something that is outside of your main skill set and, comfort zone. But if you're gonna do that, just try to remember 2 or 3 basic things. All I'm saying is you can't be doing calculus there. Trying to I saw this thing on YouTube, or what did they teach me in that class 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was doing too.
It'll never work. You have to just remember until you get the muscle memory and the reps, and you're doing this for a couple of years and all that. And you give up all your strength goals and you're training 5 days a week like me, and until you do all that, then it's and I'm joking. I think you can make really strong progress in jiu-jitsu just doing it twice a week. You don't have to give up everything. But if you're in a position, just try to remember 1 or 2 things that just makes it harder for me. Framing, battling on. If you see me shooting an underhook, try to get it back. Try to scrape that underhook out and get it for yourself. There's probably a reason why I wanted that underhook.
Yeah, so, like you said, I didn't even know there was a battle going on, and just like how you swept me, it took me 4 or 5 sweeps, for me to actually feel your feet get into position, and I'm like, oh, I know that position, I know that feeling, he's gonna try this, so. It's just like you said, it's just going to take a lot of reps, man. And, it's a new feel. I am very intuitive in there, but I was just in my own head, like you said, doing calculus when I'm on top thinking, I'm going to try to do this and move them into this area. And
I think you have a huge benefit here because you can actually watch your rolls back here with me. I mean, I trained for a year and a half, never seeing myself actually do jiu-jitsu, just rolling in there and seeing what would happen and then not being able to analyze what happened afterwards. That was very difficult for me because I like to be able to look back on things and say, okay, where did I screw this up? Or what was the key point that I capitalized on here? That's, I think that if a jiu-jitsu academy offered to video every one of my rolls, I would pay double what I'm paying today to have access to that. I'm probably the only one, but that's that's definitely how I feel. Okay, second round, which ended up getting cut off because my phone is terrible, I guess. Let's start it from the beginning. Okay, so a little context here. Last podcast, you taught me how to do a snap down more. You stepped up. You saw me struggling to pull you down back here, and you're like, you have to cover the ear and come up higher, and you're not going to be, and you were like, I'm not going to be able to stop it. The look on my face when I don't really even try that hard, and I move you
off.
and I kind of throw you off. I was so shocked. I could not believe that it actually worked. And I forgot to do it in the first round. Just totally forgot that this is how you do it. But then in between rounds, like, okay, yeah. Jordan told me that you have to grab from the top of it, not from way back here. So I was like, I'll give it a try. And so I get super excited when this actually works. Right there, I'm like, whoa! Did you get that on camera? And then I immediately kind of feel bad about it because you had just taught me that, and you're like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
No,
like,
that was great.
And then I immediately go right back to it. I'm like, I'm sorry. And you're like, don't worry. I'm like, okay. Okay, I'll get right back to that. and I'm just thinking, this whole time, what's the expression? Like poking the bear. I'm poking the bear here. What am I doing? He's just gonna blast single knee or something because I snapped him down.
No. If you would have saw my face, because you can't, because my back was turned and it was almost to the mat. But it was equally shocked. I was like, what the hell just happened?
He listened to me. Oh, yeah. That was actually a good little exchange right there. This right here. That was a good little
exchange. Your stand up, I mean, it's like then much better.
So this is two rounds in a row, though, that I almost get you in a guillotine.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're going to have to get hip to that, man. You're going to have to get savvy.
And I'm like, come on. More upright.
Yeah, you just have to be more upright. This is great. You're just pushing you along, doing lunges over here. Come on, baby. You can reach. You can reach. And then I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to go for a darce. We were just practicing the darce choke. And you're grabbing my hand over there. And I'm like, I just can't get this thing out. I can't get this hand out.
Yeah, it was a weird spot for me. I could tell that you, I didn't know about the darce, but I knew that you had that pressure on the back of my head. Yeah. And I couldn't remember if it was a darce or a different type of choke where, I forgot, maybe a bulldog choke.
Anaconda or something, I don't know. But
yeah.
But yeah, I basically gave up. Like, you're doing such a good job hand fighting with me in front of you. I was like, maybe I just need to go around the back of them. So I just kind of bailed. Quick like cat. Now I'm trying to do a spiral ride here where I have one arm under your armpit, the other one by your hip, and I'm going to try to spiral you down right here. Doesn't really work.
You still got me down.
Pulled guard. Dude, you almost pulled guard again right there. Did you see that? You could have. Right here, you could have pulled, just rotated into guard.
Yeah, it was never in my mind. Thanks. Never. Nope.
Why would I go to my back? Yeah. I mean, you basically just opened up room for me to potentially get a hook in. So, I mean, I don't know. Okay, I got one hook in. Oh, so this is interesting. Look at me. I'm actually looking back. So the way that they teach this at Black Cat is if somebody's in turtle and you get one hook in, you do the quarter Nelson on top to get their head down. And then the foot that doesn't have the hook, my right foot, scoops under your right leg and lifts it up. And then I fall kind of to my back. And because your foot is kind of being scooped up, it makes a really big impact. But I can't find your right foot. I'm like, where is it? I'm looking back. Like, you can literally see me looking back. I'm like, where is it? I could not find it. Like, you'll
stretch
here,
people.
Look, here, right here. I look back. I'm like, okay, wait. It's not there. Okay. What else? I guess maybe we'll try pivoting around this way. And then I'm thinking in my head, this is a chair sit position. And that's these little light bulbs go off that I've never entered into a chair sit position like this, but we've just somehow magically ended up there. And I'm thinking in my head, all I have to do is get him onto his side. I've already got the seat belt. And then that chair sit that we practiced last week, I can just do right to you. I learned that it's not that simple to do it to you. Look at me. I start trying to. So all I have to do now is basically get you off your hip. I have the chair. I have the exact chair sit position right here. I have it. And I heave. Nothing. Heave. And then I'm like, okay, he's belly down. There's 0% chance I'm going to be able to pull this off now. Nope, try again. And then I'm like, okay, let's just reset. Let me start over. I'll try the Darce again.
I love that. The ability, again, it's the consistency, but the ability just to flow, flow through it. Because I'm in survival mode here. I'm just like, I know that I can tell that you're working stuff. So what I do is I'll start trying to stop whatever you're trying to do. And then before I know it, you're onto something else and I'm reacting to that. So very good.
But this was the exact position that we drilled earlier, like before this roll, was I have one arm shooting in underneath you, right? I've got the hand coming on top to do the quarter Nelson. Now I'm going to try to tilt you onto your side so I can shoot in the Darce and then come up on your back. We drilled this exact same position earlier in the roll. Of course, I don't get it here because you're just a gorilla. I'm like, why isn't he falling over? Okay, go to the back. Yeah. And the round's about to end here, unfortunately. But I did manage eventually to chair sit and take your back at the end of that video. Basically by doing the same things that we were doing before. I mean, but I appreciate you trying to use technique and trying to think your way through problems. I'm obviously at an advantage in that place right now in what we do. Just because I've been training longer and I just have more knowledge in that space. But it's also important for me, leading up to my competition, to have like a little success. You're not an easy role in any ever, just based upon your physical attributes. But when you choose to actually try to use technique, which you just don't have a lot of, it definitely opens things up for me to actually try to do jiu-jitsu as opposed to me being in survival mode all the time. And considering that the academy that I go to, I am the very bottom of the food chain. Like I'll go 3 weeks without winning a round at all. Like every round I'm getting smashed, and at my previous academy, it was full of white belts, right? And I was already one of the better white belts there, I would say. I mean, at least in the top half, I would say.
Yeah.
So I was having my fair share of opportunities to kind of flow through progressions and going to move after move and finding the one that works all the time. I'm not doing any of that. At my current academy, I'm just in 100% survival mode the entire time. Just defense, maybe try to do something slick every now and again. But this gives me the opportunity to actually kind of fine tune some skills. And hopefully, we mutually learn from it as we, kind of talk about it afterwards. And there'll be a time and a place, maybe post competition, where, I'm 100% cool with you turning it up again and giving me, different looks,
Yeah. I mean, I think I learned much more from yesterday's sessions. I mean, you just have to kind of frame it in your mind that, it's not, it's just not valuable really to try to lean in on those strengths. I mean, that's what I try to preach to my clients is like, look, we do an assessment and we're going to attack the weaknesses. You know what I mean? Let's not we're going to maintain the strengths that you have. So, again, it was going to the open class, going to the class on Tuesday. The coaches were talking about don't break in your toys. I stole that from Jason, one of the guys. And, but just, like, look, and when I went on Saturday and I told you this, on the warm up, it was a round. It was a live 5-minute warm up, but it was super slow. And I mean, and it was like the first time that I realized like, oh, I just can't be reactionary and kind of rely on these things. So it was a big moment for me. Like I need to just step back and not see it as say losing. It's not losing. What you're doing is you're really training with a purpose. And,
right.
So no. I appreciate your patience with me and all that.
I mean,
it only took 5.
It only took multiple bruises, and no, but again, I think that you will learn way more doing it this way, 100%. That doesn't mean that we can never kind of send it. It's just, I think you just want to be a little bit more pragmatic about how we do it. And not that you were ever being dangerous in any way, shape, or form. Like, just to be super clear, like, I never had any issues with that. But sustainability is very important, and we're not 20, this is Dad Fight Club. There was plenty of physical exertion going on yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It might not have looked as glamorous as you dancing around and smashing me, and making a cool YouTube reel about or Instagram reel about it. It might not look as cool, but I think that it's more valuable, and by the way, like, that style is not sustainable. If somebody weathers 30 seconds of that, it's gonna be tough, right? If you've got blue belt guard retention like I have, according to an 11-year-old on the internet. So, we'll turn it back up, and we'll pick our times, pick our shots, turn it back up. I mean, imagine if you pick it back up and you have some technique to follow.
Well, and that's my thought. It's like, it's the same way when I got back into strength training, from moving from like more like high intensity, a lot of body weight stuff. Is I had to humble myself, and I had to literally coach myself every time I went in there, to say, hey, you're probably going to be able to do more, but be okay with literally taking 40% off the weight on the body and drill those movements, the fundamental movements, and in 3 months start adding another 10%, another 10%. So I'm not I'm not pushing it to 100%. I usually train like at a good 80% and really drill those same things. So it makes sense to apply that same principle to this. Because the athleticism, the explosion, I do train that, separately. So those things are going to be there. But to your point, learning the technique first, finding my flow, finding my style, and then seeing when the appropriate time is when to use those. And then, like, in competitions, like, there was one time I told you yesterday, like, I knew that you were doing something, and I was like, I could probably YOLO out of this. You know what I mean? Like, just really hard. But I was like, that wouldn't do any good here. You know what I mean? So I didn't. But in a tournament, I probably would, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, that's different. I think. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting to think about where those spots are, because it would be useful for me to know where those spots are, which I know it's super hard to, like, look after the fact and be like, oh, it was right there, or whatever.
Well, definitely, like, on their takedowns.
Yeah.
Takedowns, or those sweeps. Mm-hmm. You do it, and you think even as, like, the butterfly sweep is more of a smooth. But the smooth sweep into, like, an explosive and aggressive attack into that side position or whatever it is. Because generally when you're doing a sweep, there's going to be that little scramble pivot moment right there. And that's when you hit it hard. And then shoot, you're right back in more the technical approach, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, those are just things that I see.
Probably where there are moments where you have space. Like right after I finish sweeping you, like, I think to your point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But, like, if you just look at the difference between your stand-up this week compared to all the other ones, and I remember saying this on the first podcast, but I was like, you just got to be more aggressive. Like, that is a time that, not guerrilla mode, but there's, like, a certain assertiveness that you took this week, and it instantly got my attention. And I typically do that as well, and that's why I got your attention.
Mm-hmm.
So I think because of what it did to me, even though, like, that's my training style, it was abnormal for you to do it to me, that it totally kind of shook me for a second. Especially with the snap that you did. I was like, what the hell? But you were, like, pulling me, cutting those angles, I guess, that you were talking about.
I didn't know what to do with it once I got the angle, besides give up my leg for a single leg. But we're trying to evolve, and I'm also trying to figure out. I just don't know a shot's going to work for me. There have been a handful of times now that I've gotten in on a shot, not really with you, but in training, like at Black Cat. Like just today, we trained standing the last couple rounds. If we were competing, we had to start standing. And I was going with a blue belt. Blue belt cop outweighed me by at least 40 pounds. It's not all that good weight, but at 200 plus easy. And I got deep on a single, and I just couldn't finish it, And so I don't have much confidence at this point in my ability to finish takedowns. I think that I can get in on a single. I think I can get in on a double. I just don't know if I can finish the takedown. So that's why you see me trying to create these angles a little bit more, maybe doing a little bit more around arm, whether it's the Russian tie, that you've sort of done a lot of on me, where you grab the arm and then you kind of bring it in or whatever, and then maybe you transition to the back or whatever it is. Those seem like they maybe require a little less explosivity, a little less strength, a little less athleticism, whatever it is that I'm lacking that's preventing me from finishing takedowns. I feel like I don't necessarily need as much of that to maybe get to somebody's back by grabbing an arm, creating an angle, and then, I don't know, going to a body lock or something like that. So it is something that in the next 2 weeks, next Wednesday and the Wednesday after, I think I need to just make a decision. What am I going to try to go for? And we just need to drill it a million times, and maybe at the neglect of some of the other things that we're doing. But I would personally appreciate that, because right now, if you threw me in a ring with a white belt, I just don't know what I would do. Like, there's a bunch of things that we've sort of taught, we've sort of done, but I haven't been successful anywhere. I've never taken you down. I haven't taken down any of the folks at my jiu-jitsu academy. I'm like, I don't know. Like, maybe I'm just pulling guard at this point. But I would like to really grease the wheel on one good takedown that I can at least go after. And if I don't hit it, then maybe I just pull guard. So
I'd love to, man. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at time, man. It's 2:30 and I haven't had lunch yet. So
Yeah.
You know what that means. Food time. All right. Cool,
Food
man.
time.
Thanks a bunch.
Thank you.
Peace. Thanks.
Have a good one, guys.